Folks, this right here is the PD2706U monitor by BenQ. And look, it's a pretty soul-wrenching product name. It's not exactly exciting, but this monitor itself, on the other hand, does have a lot of cool stuff going for it. I mean, it promises to be more gentler on your wallet while providing some pretty awesome creative features that you expect with these type of monitors. And today we're going to cover all of that, so let's get into it. I've never been the biggest fan of unboxing displays, whether they're TVs or monitors, because of how fragile they can be, but thanks to a small box over here, you're actually going to have a pretty easy time unboxing this thing. Open it up, and you have all the cables and accessories you could possibly need, including a HDMI cable, a DisplayPort cable, a USB Type-C cable for DisplayPort as well, and then of course the power cable. You even get a really cool controller, which we'll talk about in just a bit, and then finally, of course, the monitor itself. Now you do of course get a stand with it that locks into place thanks to a VESA mount, so the physical installation here is very straightforward. Once you have that in place, you can install the base as well, and again, no screwdriver needed. It just has a thumb style screw here, and place that and you're all set. From a design element perspective, this is definitely more of a function over form kind of monitor. It has a more chunkier appeal than other monitors in a similar form factor, and the build quality primarily consists of a plastic finishing, whereas the more expensive monitors often have a metallic exterior. But the chunkiness isn't just for no reason. There's definitely a lot of utilitarianism here. For example, you have a ton of connectivity thanks to the KVM functionality, including a DisplayPort version 1.4 port, a HDMI 2.0 port, a Type-C DisplayPort 90-watt port as well, and then you also of course have one Type-C downstream port, two downstream Type-A ports, another USB port to connect the controller, and on the side you also have a USB-A port as well as a Type-C port alongside a headphone jack. So as you can see, there's a lot of functionality over here, and you of course also have a 3-pin port to power the monitor itself, and the buttons are also located on the rear side in an easy to access spot. The front side of the monitor is again a 27-inch display over here. You'll notice that the top forehead is quite narrow and immersive. Same thing with the side bezels, which are also very narrow. However, at the bottom you have a pretty fat and noticeable chin, which is politely covered by a silver tone color over here to give it a more presentable aesthetic. You also have a omnifunctional stand over here, which means you can adjust the height of the monitor. Additionally, you can actually swivel it left and right or up and down, which is quite nice. And then you can also do a full 90-degree tilt to completely change the orientation. Now the base is a little large in terms of surface area, but I think that's required because of how chunky this monitor is. So it makes sure you have a good center of gravity and keeps things pretty stable. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a 27-inch display. We've got a gorgeous IPS panel with LED backlighting. Taking a deeper dive into the specifications, we learn that we have a 4K resolution over here, a 16:9 aspect ratio. Additionally, we do have a peak brightness of 350 nits with SDR content and a peak of up to 400 nits with HDR content, which also means we have HDR10 certification. Yes, we do have a 1200:1 contrast ratio, and we also have a 5 millisecond response rate, though unfortunately we have a refresh rate of just 60 Hz, but that is quite common with these type of monitors. Now as far as general productivity goes, this is a fantastic monitor. The high 4K resolution means that text looks really clear and crisp. It's easy to see the screen, you don't have a lot of eye strain going over here, and the attention to detail of course is fantastic. Now thanks to the matte finish, you have a anti-glare coating of sorts, which also means that you don't get a lot of background disturbance thanks to all the lack of reflection, and generally speaking, it's been a pretty pleasant viewing experience. Let's talk about the real reason you're getting this monitor, the creative specifications. In that area, we've got a 95% DCI-P3 color rating, we've got a 99% sRGB color rating, a 99% REC.709 rating, and of course a delta score of less than 3. The result is that you get a pretty vivid color experience here, whether it's photo editing or in my case video editing on programs like DaVinci Resolve with color grading. You'll find that it's very reliable. There's a high degree of color accuracy here, which results in a comfortable viewing experience, and you get a pretty good idea of the color tones that again are highly accurate. Now look, Granted, it's true that if you spend a significantly high amount of money, you will get marginally better specs, and these numbers aren't industry leading, but again, given the price point this monitor is competing in, these are some pretty impressive numbers. And by the way, the color benefits aren't just limited to professional activities like video or photo editing, they also help when you're, let's say, watching media content because the colors look sharp and vivid. I love watching movies and shows on this display because of just how nice everything looks. And while I wouldn't recommend this as a gaming monitor due to the limited 60Hz refresh rate, the occasional gaming session on here can look really vivid and colorful, and games that really use a lot of color palettes actually look absolutely stunning, as long as you're again okay with the limited refresh rate. You also get this Hockey Puck G2 controller. Yes, that's what it's actually called. It's really cool because it has 3 distinct preset modes that you can set and program directly on it, a nice knob to navigate through the onboard menu with the monitor, and of course a number of other buttons to navigate as well. Now the onboard menu is quite robust. It allows you to obviously switch between the various input modes and select a lot of settings such as brightness and whatnot, but it also has a number of built-in preset color profiles that are perfect for various creative use cases. Now you'll be happy to know that you can also of course access the menu through the rear side buttons in case you don't want to use a controller or in case you don't have it. You can also get a more comprehensive UI-based experience thanks to Display Pilot 2, a program you can download directly from BenQ's website. It allows you to obviously configure the basic stuff like brightness, the input, and a number of other monitor settings that you could do from the menu. But in addition to this, it also allows you to use the ICC sync functionality to make sure that the color profiles are set with the same tone on both the monitor and the program running on your laptop. While we're already on the topic of BenQ products, let's talk about the Screen Bar Pro. This monitor light is so darn good. Firstly, it's got a clean minimalist design. Thanks to a new and improved clamp style mount, it's extremely compatible, which means it can work on most types of monitors, curved, flat, super fat, super thin, doesn't matter. You'll also appreciate the fact that it has a 1000 lux max illumination, which means it can pretty much light up your desk just like a traditional desk lamp. On top of that, it has onboard controls, so you can adjust everything from obviously turning the lamp on or off to setting it to auto mode to automatically optimize your right lighting settings, or of course manually adjusting both the brightness as well as the temperature, ranging between 2500K all the way up to 6500K. You'll also be happy to know that it offers a proximity sensor, so it'll automatically turn on when you're nearby and automatically turn off shortly after you leave, which is more convenient than you might actually think. Overall, this thing is great to reduce eye strain and at the same time provide illumination to your desk space. Definitely something that I would recommend. Coming back to the monitor, the PD27 has an approximate retail value of $800 US. Believe it or not, this is considered relatively affordable in the creative monitor market space, and you're getting most of the features you would get with a more expensive or higher end monitor, including a good degree of color accuracy thanks to a high color ratio in the sRGB and DCI-P3 space, a relatively low delta E score, a nice crisp 4K resolution, a high quality 27-inch IPS panel, and of course so many other cool display specs combined. And I also love the fact that you get built-in KVM functionality with a ton of connectivity options, and of course you also get this really cool controller that makes just browsing the menu a little bit more user-friendly. And if you prefer a more software type experience, you can always download Display Pilot 2. All these things combined really make this great for creative purposes and for general productivity as well. Let me know your thoughts on the BenQ PD27. If you're interested in learning more about it, I will leave links in the video description below. As always, thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.